City of Minnetrista for April 6th, 2026. Present here this evening are Paula Baumann, our City Assistant Administrator, Gary Peters, our Public Works Director, Council President are Brian Govern, Kathleen Refkin, myself, Lisa Whalen, and then we have Jasper Krugel, Administrator, Brian Grimm, Finance Director, and David Abel, who is our Community Development Director, and then Aaron, what's your last name? Aaron with AE2S is here as well. We are expecting another council member, Claudia Lacey. She did notify us that she would be late, so that's fine. She'll join us when she gets here. And then we also have a couple of the developers going to be joining us for our second item. I'm going to switch the two items around. So we're going to talk with Loeffler first regarding cybersecurity. And then when we're done with that, hopefully by that time the others will have joined us. And then we'll be talking about future water infrastructure. So I'm going to hand it over to you first. Excuse me.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of City Council. This is stemming from our strategic planning session that we had in February, just to kind of talk about cybersecurity, what we do at the city, and Jeff will talk about some things that we could maybe consider adding to our arsenal to kind of protect ourselves from threats. And looking, if we do want to do anything, I'd recommend we do it and budget for it in 2027. So Jeff, I'll hand it off to you, and you can kind of go through there, and I'd say feel free to ask questions as we're moving along.
Yes, thanks, Jasper. By all means, please feel free to ask questions as I go, but I thought I would give you the the current state of our security controls at the city.
Okay.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
And Paul, just so you know, we switched the agenda items, knowing that some people were coming late. So, yeah. Okay. All right.
All right. So it's a little bit of an eye chart, but I'll explain each item. So first of all, there are two internet connections at the city, one for the city hall and the PD, and one for the LETG. Both connections are protected by firewalls, and those firewalls all have what's called active gateway security services. So that just simply means that all traffic going in and out of the firewall are being scanned for malware, for viruses, and other intrusions that don't have signatures. We're also doing content filtering to eliminate the access to unwanted or dangerous sites. On all of your endpoints, we have a package called Sentinel-1. Sentinel-1 is an EDR, which is called Endpoint Detection and Response. This is a very fast-acting AI-powered protection device that is geared towards eliminating ransomware, and not really eliminating, but preventing it. That's a very important piece to the cybersecurity landscape. Before that type of technology, the ransomware attacks were a lot higher. So this is definitely a big move in the protection against that. You also have a system called MDR, which is powered by Arctic Wolf Networks. MDR, the big difference between EDR and MDR is MDR has a security operations center behind it, mostly being monitored not only by AI, but also humans. And this is also looking for malicious traffic that is moving north and south out of firewalls or across your network. It's also monitoring the endpoints just like the EDR system. Any questions on those three controls?
No.
Okay. All right, we're also doing monthly end user awareness training. We are now using a system. We've always been doing it. It used to be quarterly, but now we're doing it monthly. And that also includes phishing simulations. So we're also doing testing to see if there are any clickers and who they are. We are also doing external vulnerability scanning on both firewalls. What this means is that we are scanning your firewalls the exact same way that a hacker or a cyber criminal would be scanning them. We're looking for vulnerabilities, but instead of exploiting them, we are triaging and fixing them if they do occur.
Okay.
We're also doing quarterly firewall inspections. We are going manually into both firewalls every 3 months to make sure that there have been no unauthorized changes and to make sure that all the security services that we want running are running, and that all of the code and all of the firmware, everything's up to date and running smoothly. We're also doing active dark web monitoring. So if a user's credentials of an employee at the city, if they're being used outside of the city for a private website, like signing up for a Best Buy account and they're using their city address, and for some reason the Best Buy account gets compromised and those credentials get put on the dark web, Loeffler is monitoring that 24 hours a day, and if we see a compromise, we immediately reach out to the individual and we change passwords. The last couple things we're doing is we do email threat scanning. This is a scan that is happening on all emails coming into the city, and we're scanning and eliminating spam, but we're also eliminating emails with malicious attachments and malicious links before they get to the users. It doesn't stop everything, which is why we have the end user awareness training. And if they still get tricked, we have the MDR and we have the EDR all in place to do everything we can to stop a cyber attack. We also review all of these services on a quarterly basis. We have a meeting once a quarter. The customer success manager, which is a role that I play with the city, and we also have a virtual chief information security officer now joining those meetings to give an update and reporting on the AWN, the Arctic Wolf Networks service. So that's a lot. We've built this out. We've built out that security posture over the last several years. And it's been evolving actually for the last 6 years. So we feel very confident, but there's always more work to do. We looked at some of the things, and this is in no particular order, but these are some things that I think we could budget for in the years to come. Doing an annual penetration test. We would hire out a third-party firm to actually do a test against our defenses to see if they can see or get into any systems at the city. We recommend that on an annual basis. We also would like to review or implement an incident response plan, particularly as it pertains to cybersecurity, to a cybersecurity incident. And we'd like to do an annual tabletop exercise with all of those involved in the plan. We like to do this annually as well. It's kind of like a pick your own adventure. We won't do the same type of security incident each year. It'll get more and more creative, but also very relevant to what we're seeing in the industry. Doing continuous internal vulnerability scanning is a lot of work. It produces a lot of remediation potentially, but we believe that internal vulnerability scanning is a control that should be considered, again, we're looking for out-of-date systems. And we're not just looking for computer systems, we're looking for anything attached to the network. These days, that could be a refrigerator. It could be any type of device that is connecting to the internet for any type of communication. Those will show up on, HVAC sometimes is on the network. We're looking at all controls to see if there are vulnerabilities exposed. Doing an annual security assessment. Part of the Arctic Wolf offering is a light assessment that we will work through on an annual basis, but the key word there is light. It's a very light assessment. Doing a more thorough assessment is something to consider. Again, that would be looking at controls in both internal and external technology controls. That's the vulnerability scanning. Physical controls, which would be access control, video surveillance, intrusion prevention type systems, access to the server room, and also administrative controls. This kind of dovetails into policy management. A lot of companies, a lot of cities do not have managed policies for things like acceptable use policies for internet access, incident response policies, clean desk policies. So there's just a lot of policies that surround cybersecurity controls, and a lot of people don't have them and they don't manage them. A security assessment would expose that and let you know what you have and don't have and what we need to work on. Backup recovery and testing. So in the event we have a situation where we have to rely on our disaster recovery controls, we need to test those. We should test those on an annual basis. And the last thing I want to touch on is something a little new to the industry, but it's getting a lot of press lately, and it's called risky login. So we have, and I didn't cover this, I should have. The city also has multi-factor authentication with conditional access. So everybody these days is doing some type of multi-factor authentication in their life, whether that's logging onto your online banking account or your credit card accounts. A lot of times you're issued a one-time password. We use the Microsoft Authenticator program to do our authentication. Part of that is it includes a policy called geofencing. Geofencing means that if you're in a country that is not allowed inside the policy, you can't access the tenant at all because people are trying to hack your tenant all the time. And one of the ways to get it to prevent a lot of exposure is to eliminate the countries that have access. So we normally limit that to the United States. Well, now hackers have gotten very smart and they're starting to attack from within the United States. So geofencing becomes less effective. Very effective still for the majority of the hacks, but a lot of hackers are starting to now populate inside US-based data centers. So now what that's saying is if Jasper logs in the city of Minnetrista at 8 a.m. on Monday morning, and we get another attempt for Jasper trying to log in from New Mexico at 8:45, we're realizing that that's not possible, right? And these hackers will launch these attacks from all over the United States, right? And that is considered a risky login, and it will actually create actions to shut down Jasper's account. So there's technologies like that on the horizon that we'll also want to watch, and that's a service delivered by Microsoft again. So Microsoft is definitely keeping the security controls in their services very up to date. So we're happy about that. So that's everything that you have, and that's kind of a little bit of a roadmap of what we should look at. Any questions that I can answer?
I did have a question about, I know one of the issues that we've seen here in the city, and from media reports, it's been fairly widespread around Minnesota, is spoofed emails appearing to come from municipalities trying to essentially scam people. Do you guys offer any ability to stop website scraping or to have like a honeypot to monitor for that kind of activity?
There are some technical controls inside of the Exchange Online that we have in place to help prevent spoofing. Also, the email filtering system that we use is there to help control some of that as well. Beyond that, it gets a little bit beyond my knowledge to really dive into that. But no, we don't have anything like that in place, like a honeypot.
If I may, I'll add a couple things because Brian and I have had some offline conversations about this. We have looked into doing like a reCAPTCHA, if you're familiar with that process on our website when you download like an agenda packet, because I think that's what's happening is people are pulling our information off our website, looking at like a land use application, pulling out pertinent information, sending them an invoice, and then trying to get. So that's happened a few times here in Minnetrista. It's happening everywhere. Civic Plus, Paula looked into this, and we've been working with Civic Plus. Does not have that feature, but we've requested it. So we're working on that. If there's a way to do it, it would become more cumbersome to download for a normal user. But I think that's fine because it would hopefully avoid some of the confusion that we've had from some of our residents. So we've been working on that. We also, you may have seen it in claims, we've also purchased some similar domains and added that to our domain pile as of recently too. So somebody couldn't get like city of Minnetrista .biz or something like that, and then it looks like it's coming from us. And so we've captured those, and we're trying to do almost everything we can to avoid some of these things. But sometimes the actors are generally a step ahead of everybody else that's trying to alleviate these things. But we're going to continue to work on it, and hopefully that reCAPTCHA or there's some other sort of solution to downloading things from our website that adds a little check and balance.
Right. So what has happened then if people get these bogus invoices? Have they paid them?
No, thankfully they've reached out to us,
Okay.
confirmed whether we had sent it or not, and we forwarded it on to our public safety department
Yeah.
and told them, no, it's not from us.
So when somebody applies for a permit, has any kind of dealings?
It just recently happened.
Okay.
But yeah, we certainly
Yeah.
can be more upfront
Okay.
with them about that, yes.
And they have investigated these, and they've all come from overseas, so they kind of end at that because we're not going to go that far in the investigation.
Right. Hi, Claudia. It's okay.
And Highland was also closed.
Yeah, I know.
Turned into 20.
Yeah, I know.
It's okay.
Okay.
I really, it's all right. It's
Yeah.
I can report no injuries.
oh, thank
So-
God.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we'll talk about that later. All right, any other questions regarding, for Jeff? Otherwise, I think what we should probably do then, thank you, Jeff, for all this information. For me, it's a lot. I think what we'll do is, if you can at some point, maybe later on this year, provide our staff, or maybe before we start talking budgets, provide our staff with some numbers for the various things, and then also maybe talk with them and make some recommendations as to what we need. I don't know if we need everything, but what would be the top 2 or 3 things that we should add, if anything? Maybe we're okay with what we already have, I don't know. So, and then they can come back and we can then discuss that and add it to our budget for 27.
I can do that.
All right. All right, thank
Wonderful.
you.
Yeah,
All right.
thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kind of scary, actually. So,
That's for a living.
yeah. All right. So now we're going to do the second thing that's on our agenda is the future water main extension discussion. So I'm going to ask Aaron, do you want to start that or?
Yeah, definitely. We can kind of, yeah, if Aaron wants to present a little bit here, I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint he has provided us. But really what this is talking about, I'll give you a little back history on this. We've been obviously talking to the developers regarding the Acrati property, and that's kind of where this stemmed from. We've talked about the extension and the redundant water line that we've needed from our future water treatment plant, which they just broke ground on recently. And then with that, I asked the question to AE2S. I said, well, are there other areas in town we should be thinking about as far as, having the best system for looping and things like that, redundant water sources. So there were some other, you'll see there's basically 4 different areas here that they're going to look at. One of them is pretty much needed. The other one, I have them kind of in order as far as the maps go, what we priority levels. The next one is just a little connection over here on 110 that would provide a lot of support for the Halstead area. And then the other 2 are kind of like, well, these would be good, but maybe not necessarily required right now, but it's good to have in front of everybody. So I don't know if that's a good summary from how we got here, but I will leave it to Aaron, and I can give you this if that works for you. Thank you.
So can I just ask a question before Aaron starts? So on here, we listed the 4 main properties. So does the Bowl property not need looping or new water main or anything out there? Because there wasn't anything for that in the packet.
Yeah, so the Bowl property, as you know, the water tower is right there. Eventually, if that area kind of as a whole kind of develops, then there likely is required to have some additional water sources, and that would be that 110 line coming from Halstead over to basically have it going to Highland, but extending that to 92 and then into that area. So.
All right. Well, thanks, Madam Mayor, members of council. I'm here to give, I guess, a brief update on the water plant, and then we'll get into pipeline improvements as Casper mentioned. So I guess just a brief update on water plant construction. We've started.
We also have to do we were going to do a shovel thing,
We will, yeah.
The ribbon.
Date, but
It's we're going to shoot for the work session on June 1st.
That seems like it's
Seems like there'll be a lot of progress there
Yeah.
by then.
We'll have something to look at in the background, but that's what we've looked at.
Okay, why June 1st? Why not May? I'm just asking.
Well, so there's a timing piece. We'd like to wait until the legislative session ends,
Okay,
which
so-
is May 19th.
Okay.
So to get it to work with that, we can. We can do whatever you guys want, though. If you want to move it up, we sure can.
So we're delaying it in case they give us bonding, so some of them can be in the photo? Is that's
Maybe.
okay. All right.
we can absolutely.
We could do it May 20th.
Groundbreaking whenever we want.
Okay.
It's not uncommon to do a groundbreaking
Right.
when we've already started,
Right.
just the way things typically work.
I
But
just don't want to lose sight of it because we've been working on this for a gazillion years, and we should take pride in what we're doing here. So maybe we do it May 20th. I don't know. I'm just
well,
saying.
and I will
Whatever.
forewarn you, it
Yeah.
will seem like things are going very slow for
Yeah,
the first 6
right.
months.
I know.
They have to move a lot of dirt, they have to pour a lot of concrete. There
Right.
will be a ginormous hole there for basically all summer.
Okay.
So it won't change much or won't look like it's
That's going to be
changing.
fenced off really well for all of the kids in our neighborhood, correct?
Yeah.
A gazillion and ginormous.
Some of them have been known to go into the
Yeah.
homes that are being built, so
Oh, gee.
not mine.
All right.
So
Okay.
just a couple pictures. The contractor started a couple weeks ago excavating. I believe they hope to be done excavating actually this week. But with all of the rain we've received recently, it slowed them a little bit. So there's, I guess, one picture. You can see another picture on the right as they continue to kind of get deeper there. They did deliver a crane last week, so they used the existing drive on Highway 7 to deliver that.
Yeah.
They were very appreciative of the police department that helped with some warning signs and block
Okay.
out parts of Highway 7, make sure that delivery
Fun to be behind.
was safe. So,
Couldn't get by.
so that, and then they're also constructing Mount Minnetrista
Interesting. Yeah.
of the water plant. So, and for all intents and purposes, that pile of dirt will stay there.
Right.
And help.
And actually kind of block the view
Yes.
for, yes, right. I mean, it won't look like that.
No,
I
they'll be
mean,
terraced and landscaped and things, but for
Yeah.
now, it's a nice place
Yeah.
to store dirt.
Yeah.
So.
There's a lot of those in that neighborhood. It's fine.
I lost it. Let me advance.
There you go.
In addition to, I guess, the construction that's happening, I think you all are aware that there is a project website. So as things progress, we will put pictures and updates on the website just so the community can stay engaged on the progress. There's really not a lot on there yet, but our team will continually monitor that and work with city staff to update that.
And so here's my comment on the website. I think I think we need to have it on our website.
It is.
Okay, and so I also asked staff to put either a link or something on the front page, so it's very easy to find, because I wasn't able to find it.
So I went there today.
Okay, all right.
And on the main webpage, there's
Okay.
a picture and a link to the water plant
Yeah,
website.
so
And
they've
it brings
added
you
that.
offsite to
Yeah.
kind of the web map.
Okay,
So it's very accessible.
yeah, thank you.
So we're providing updates on the website. We've met with the contractor throughout the winter about monthly. They really weren't obviously doing anything on site, but just to get paperwork and submittals reviewed. So they're in the process of doing that submittal review, ordering the equipment and things that they need. We've completed about 101 submittals, which essentially is purchasing different equipment that's going to go in the water plant. We review it, make sure it's correct, it meets all the specification requirements, and then once it's approved, they proceed with purchasing it. There's also been some RFIs, just as they have questions about the project and details, so we've processed those. Our on-site team is starting to be on-site more regularly now that they're on-site moving dirt, so they're planning to be there 2 to 3 days a week, just observing construction and providing coordination as needed. So, and we plan to meet with the contractor every other week, just as a kind of a standing progress meeting to keep up to speed with activities. So that's kind of it for the water plant construction. Not a lot, but exciting that they're starting.
Okay.
It's on my end. Sorry about that.
Pipeline improvements. So as Jasper mentioned, as we've been talking, kind of moving on from the water plant coordination and getting into more distribution system improvements, we met with M&I Homes to talk about the Karate property recently, and that kind of spurred a discussion about other water main improvements. So you can see here an image just to the west of the water plant, south of Highway 7, there's a development that's looking to move forward. So there's discussions about what type of water main we may need within that development and the size that we would likely request as part of overall distribution system sizing. So as you can see here, there's about 7,000 feet of pipeline within that development. We're recommending a 12-inch line just to help with transmission from east to west through your community. Typical city processes, anything larger than an 8-inch would be paid for by the city because of the upgrade requirement. 8 inch is required.
But you're talking 8-inch within the development?
Yes, within the development, typically it's a requirement that the developer would pay for the 8-inch, and then
Right.
anything above that the city requires would be city funded.
We would just pay the upcharge?
Yes.
Just the upcharge?
Yeah.
Why?
So because they only require 8-inch
They.
for this development, for instance.
Who's they? The state? Who
The
requires?
city, I guess, is
The
my
city.
understanding is that's kind of a city policy is 8 inches standard.
We want 12-inch. Why does our policy have 8?
So
That's a good question.
it is a good question. So the 8-inch is the size needed to serve the community. If there's like a trunk line or whatever we want to call these that come through there, that's a different thing. And not all developments will need it. And there's certain areas like in Woodland Cove that need 12-inch versus 8-inch. So the city standard is 8-inch. That's why. We could move it up to 12. I don't know.
For most of the areas, and Aaron can correct me if I'm wrong, but for most of these areas, an 8-inch will serve this just fine. The 12-inch upgrade though is for future looping and more water towards the west and as more developments come online. But 8-inch will serve, most areas just fine.
I don't have a full system map as part of this presentation, but Highway 7 is a bit of a bottleneck for the community. There's a single 12-inch that runs down Highway 7. And because of the location of this development, as Gary mentioned, it helps, increasing to 12-inch helps with that transmission from east to west. But in most neighborhoods, they wouldn't be near a main transmission corridor like this, so we wouldn't require 12-inch. So that's, I guess, kind of to Jesper's point, this is really considered more of a trunk system improvement, not a standard development.
And I think, I don't know, there are issues with having too big of water mains too. If they don't use enough water, that water sits in that pipe longer than what we'd like. So it's kind of a balance of that.
So our team has looked at kind of the proposed piping at this point and that upsizing charge based on, what connections we might need and some of the negotiations that we might go through with the developer. The city will contribute probably somewhere between $300,000 and $600,000 to do that upgrade in transmission. So that's
Okay, so remind me again, within we'll call it the Acrati development, within there, they only need 8-inch.
correct.
Okay, so we're not upgrading to 12-inch within that development.
No. So we are upgrading within the development to 12-inch. They only need 8-inch to serve those homes. The 12-inch is of benefit to the community to help with transmission of water from the water plant to the west.
Okay, so then, however, you're also saying on this page that we need this whole trunk line.
Yes.
Okay, so we need to talk about this.
Yeah, and then we're jumping around. Why isn't it the same size line? Like, why do we have yellow and then blue and then red? What, like?
I can help explain.
Yeah. And just a point of clarity, not all the lines in that development will be 12-inch. It'll just be certain areas that we determined that need to have higher
And this
flow.
is very early.
Yeah.
We're just estimating right now. We're trying to get a handle on costs of where we think we might be for costs, but the
Okay.
design is still evolving. So
Okay.
the map I showed is very early. So this is the south pipeline improvements that we're recommending. And this was part of the kind of the master planning effort, and we've kind of known about these upsizing requirements. But I guess to your question, there's the yellow line, which is the 20-inch coming from the water plant, crosses Highway 7 and then runs on the south side. And then it decreases to a 16-inch, which is the blue. That decreases because you can see that little leg there that connects to the north. So we're sending some water that direction, so we don't need the full 20-inch all the way because we're removing some of the water from that overall capacity to the north.
But we're going to need more west when the next development comes in.
Yes, but that's because if you look on the very far left of the map where it connects to that red piece, if we don't increase it, if you would only put an 8-inch through that community, you'd essentially be funneled through that 12-inch on Highway 7. So you'd get even.
No, I
I'm wondering
think,
why it's not yellow the whole way.
yeah, that's.
She wants to put 20-inch in the whole way.
Again, because.
I don't want to. I want to know why
Why
we're doing
we're-
half and
yeah.
half.
It
'cause
really
seems
has to
silly.
do with velocities. When our modeling team runs the model, they look at the velocity of water moving through the pipe, and they try to keep velocity within a certain range. So because we're sending some of the water through kind of
To the north?
to the north,
Yeah.
that's decreasing the velocity, which allows us to reduce the size of that pipe and reduce it down to the 16-inch or the blue size. So again, we're trying to be efficient with sizing. This is the benefit of having a detailed model is rather than running 20-inch the whole way, we can say we're within a velocity that it's not as beneficial.
But I
Then
think,
as we add more properties, won't we need
That's
the
what
velocity,
yeah.
2 miles down the road more? I guess that's,
You will, but you're connecting into the Acrati development. So the additional piping there helps with that transmission. There would be no benefit to continue that 20-inch.
even if, let's just say, every property along Highway 7 on the northern part were to develop, you're saying we still wouldn't need a 20-inch pipe? I'm just asking.
yeah, no, that's my question too.
Based on
Like,
the
if all
recommendation
of this
from our modeling
changes-
team, they don't see the need.
Okay, because here's how I see it. I mean, this is just, I'm not an engineer, so I'm not trying to engineer this for you. But when this 12-inch pipe was put in all the way down to Hunter's Crest, it was put in there because Hunter's Crest was being developed. St. Bonnie didn't want to sell us their water, so we had to bring water to them. And it was designed 12-inch. We said, okay, that's going to be enough for who knows how long. Had we put in a 20-inch at that point, or maybe a 16-inch, we'd be okay today. So what I'm asking is, if we look at future, let's say long-term 30, 40 years, or 30 years from now, okay? We look at long-term development, is that 16-inch blue line going to be sufficient enough, or would it be better to add a little bit more now so that we're not redoing it in 20 years?
We can definitely look at that.
Okay.
I don't have an answer right now.
Yeah.
Based on the master planning effort that we did when we looked at the proposed development,
Yeah.
In the
Right.
future, it seemed that this would be acceptable. But I think that's why we're coming to you today, because we're proposing that we start looking and designing these pieces, because especially this component, we know we will need
Right.
to start providing water to the west. So I think it's worth kind of revisiting that blue line to see.
I think we
is it-
should.
Just go to
Especially
20-inch, and what is the cost?
Pricing really isn't that much more. According to this, it's like 20, like put the bigger pipe in and save
Right.
a lot of
Again,
headache.
sometimes we over-engineer things and try to pick at pennies to save a few dollars, but overall it may be
Yeah.
beneficial just to put a 20-inch in, but we can definitely put that on the list of things to look at.
I think we should.
Yeah.
And Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, on the north side, we considered some development there, but not everything.
No, it
If
wouldn't.
you're thinking that, you're looking at a possibility of all that being developed, yeah, then we should probably revisit this to look at that. But right now, we were only looking at a smaller area that being developed, not everything. So not everybody's selling,
Right.
basically from from Oak Road, or basically from the roundabout on the north side, we were not planning on everybody selling off and
Right.
developing, so.
And I plan to come back on the 20th.
Okay.
I can provide a little bit more information on the assumptions that we've kind of used in sizing these.
Okay, that would be good.
It'd be
Yep.
helpful to you to make sure.
And we can look at the properties that would be potentially that might develop within the next 20 years. Maybe the equestrian development isn't going to, but there's other properties that might, and on the south too.
Right.
So, okay. Now, I think we're going to go back to this map, because I think that's why Paul Robinson and your Emily are here. So, and I was talking to staff about this earlier. So in the past, every time we have a development come in, they want to develop, we said, great, that's fine, but you need to bring water to your development. So this, to me, is a little bit of a difference from what we've been doing. So, and I used the example when I talked to staff today, and you can jump in, David, when Red Oak was developed, they had to bring the water line from 150, down 151, from 110 over to 19, up to their development. So a question, and Paul isn't going to like this question, but the question is, why wouldn't we require this development to do the same?
I'm not as familiar with the past precedent. So
Okay.
I guess based on my understanding of this transmission and kind of what we're showing here, is this is really treated more as trunk infrastructure to help develop the entire western portion of the city as development continues, west.
Okay.
So we would need this to help all of that development to say that the Karate property should pay for this entire chunk in its entirety. Basically, anyone else that would develop down the road that would benefit from this would be getting this infrastructure for free. So we typically the city charges trunk infrastructure fees to pay for things like this that help more than just a single developer. They help transmit water across the community. So it falls into a little bit different bucket than individual supply to just a single development.
But if you look at the piping, it's just for this property. I mean, this line's already there. The Highway 7 line is already there.
Right, and they can hook into that.
Yeah.
So they don't need this pipe.
Right.
Right. Well, no, they need pipes though. So like, again, back
They don't need
to,
this one.
They don't need the yellow blue one.
well, no, that one I know. That one's ours. I get that. I'm talking about,
So if you think about a water balloon, and if we want to if we squeeze on a water balloon in one direction to push, to expand it one direction,
Right.
you have to put more pressure on one side. In order for us to move water from the east side of the community to the west, if we don't put this pipeline in, you'll see likely 20 PSI pressure increases for the homes around the water plant, which is probably more than what we would want. So by putting this in, it helps decrease that pressure increase and basically helps with transmission of water from the east side of the community to the west. It's not necessarily intended just for the karate property. It really helps everyone to the west of this infrastructure.
Is there any benefit? Years ago, I know there was a big thing about, maybe I'm not thinking right, putting pressure reducers on certain areas or homes around certain areas. Would that be cheaper than putting it? I'm just trying to conceptualize a little bit. If you're saying one of the main reasons is there's gonna be pressure around the plant, well, and we used to talk about pressure reducers. I know it's.
Well, I think we also have a pressure issue for some of the areas in Woodland Cove.
Yeah,
I mean, they don't have enough pressure.
especially to the east of the water plant, there's some low areas that have quite high pressure. So we want to minimize additional increases. They will likely see some increase, and we could look at select PRVs, but it's not something we want to treat as maybe a main alternative. I think it's a secondary alternative in areas where we just can't manage.
You would open yourself up with some liability too if you start increasing pressures beyond that, say 70 is what normal. If you're pushing 80, 90 and you're putting PRVs in the houses we have now, I would think you'd probably open yourself up to a little bit of liability, knowing that you're doing that. I mean, you try to avoid, that high pressure zone as much as possible. Lower areas that are being served, are going to be susceptible to it, but you don't really want to increase areas that you wouldn't normally have to. We do have that in, this North Saunders because of the topographical lay of the land as compared to what their elevation is compared to what it is. That's why South Saunders, North Saunders end up having to have the pressure, reducers in there. Same with Turtle. Some of that area has that too, but you want to try to eliminate that as much as possible. You want to keep a steady pressure.
And there are homes east of the water plant that are over 100 or would be over 100 PSI if we don't install this infrastructure.
Okay, so you're talking about the yellow-blue line, if you don't install that, okay, all right. So then the next question is, Paul, how would this tie into their development, and do they need that line for their development?
They do not need this line to access water.
And what would happen to the pressure, either pro or con?
If we don't put this.
I'm saying,
in?
well, I'm trying to figure out timing.
Sure.
Because if they don't need this line, can we put this in? I'm trying to think of funding, so I'm thinking funding and timing and all of this together. How can that work?
So on the fifth bullet down, so if we don't do this, so currently the plant is designed to treat 2,100 gallons per minute, and we have the pumping capacity of 2,800 gallons a minute to allow us to use that clear well as a little bit of a buffer. Right. If we don't put these lines in and we want to maintain the pressures that we currently have, we're limited in pumping capacity at the water plant to 1,500 gallons a minute. So we will reduce how much water we can push out. Again, it's the water balloon effect, we just can't push as hard. If the harder we push, the more pressure increase we will feel. So if we don't put these lines in, we will be limited to an additional 1,500 gallons per minute of water that we can push out of that water plant, which is still quite a bit of additional capacity.
I was just going to say that's more capacity than we currently have, plus it would probably take us further down the road, in other words.
So we need to absolutely balance that of the criticality of, we do think this is a necessary long-term improvement that the city should invest in for transmission and efficiency, but we still will get about 1,500 gallons a minute according to the model that will, with minimal pressure increase. If you start going above that, you'll start to see significant pressure increases.
So then again, timing-wise, for the Crotty property, then,
You do not need this to serve the Crowdy
okay.
property.
And then we just pump 1,500 gallons a minute, okay?
Yep.
At what point are the 1,500 gallons not going to be sufficient?
That all depends on long-term demand. So I don't know an exact date. I'd have to go
Okay.
back and look at our projections. But I can definitely come back with that for next visit.
And the reason I'm asking is because obviously with these developments, they're coming in, we're going to get trunk fees and connection fees and so on. So I'm just wondering if we can hold off a year or two, or, how many years? I don't want to push it too far off, but in the meantime, we can be collecting these fees, and then once we have, maybe not enough, but more than what we currently have we have $0 for this. So then we could be collecting those trunk fees and those connection fees,
Right.
and then at some point, using that fund to do this project.
Yep, I understand the timing consideration. I don't have a date now. I
Okay.
can definitely come back with some additional thoughts. The market is good right now for underground construction.
Okay,
Oil prices having gone up doesn't help, but
yeah, right.
contractors are still very hungry and bidding projects well. So we want to take some of that into consideration, that, capitalizing on a good bidding environment.
It's a crapshoot.
But it's still going to be an
yeah.
expensive project either
Right.
way. So, but I can definitely talk to our team and try to nail down a little bit better time frame. The one thing one of the reasons we did invest in the larger clear well and pumping was to try to delay that additional storage.
Right.
So, and I believe that had we not done that, we would have wanted to invest in that additional storage in around 2030.
Right.
So, I think that's where we're going to start to run into conflicts where we can't push out the water that we need to accomplish the storage equivalency by 2030.
Okay.
And it takes, a year to, not year, but some time to design, some time to construct. So I do have a timeline at the end of this that we can kind of put that into perspective of the time it may take to execute.
Right. And so the timing might be an issue, might be the question, because then maybe we need to talk with the developer to see if they're interested in working out some kind of a special deal. No, seriously, because I know Paul, you're thinking about doing, what, 5 or 6 phases? How many phases?
We're still working that out. I mean, and I think part of this is just, that's why we're in a work session, but here,
Yeah.
The pieces. I think we're going to work with you to try to figure out what works best for both of us.
Okay.
I do see that the water main, the way that they're showing it, really it's a win-win for the city. This is pretty common or typical.
Right.
Across the Twin Cities when it goes from 8 inches to 12, because most neighborhoods don't need that. It's like putting Highway 7 through a neighborhood and then expecting the neighborhood to pay for Highway 7. They don't do that. But, so it just kind of depends. I think, Aaron, you're going to figure out when the timing is, because you're going to, the benefit to you is you're going to want us to put that 12-inch in because it's a benefit for you. Because
And that I'm not questioning, yeah.
Yeah,
That I think. Yeah. But I'm wondering, in terms of trunk fees, if there's something if there's some mutual benefit for both of us, maybe you prepay your trunk fees or whatever, rather than paying them in phases. I'm just throwing it out as an idea.
I think when we figure out some of the totality of what needs to
Yeah,
happen,
okay.
we can start to put numbers to it and see what works. I mean, because we were expecting to get water and not pay more than what we were planning, so this would throw our performance off quite a bit if we
Okay.
had all of a sudden bigger, a large trunk line, because we knew there was water. That was part of our,
Yeah.
our initial
Right.
figuring this thing out. Was
Yeah.
Water is, we were basically close, and we knew we were going to have to extend the lift station to get to it.
And our modeling team has looked at the EAW for the development. And
Okay.
there wasn't any major concerns as far as, I think one of the questions that was asked is, how much water can we take in the next year or 2 years? And,
Right.
what's the allowable amount? And our modeling team didn't have any major concerns with like speed of water and when they would need it, other than just overall capacity. But there's capacity on the 12-inch to serve them.
Okay.
It's just the transmission of it kind of across the community
Yeah,
is
okay.
the bigger issue.
So again, Paul, just, so just, when will you know how many phases? And when will you have some kind of timeline? Do you have any idea?
I mean, we're just getting through the EAW process.
Yeah.
And we're going to be starting to put a concept plan together. And so I would say, just knowing how big this is and where we're headed, I would say it's probably 3 or 4 phases, or
Okay.
maybe 2 or 3 phases. You know, and we're really just kind of debating what makes sense, right? What's the first phase? Are we going to bring in all the products in the first phase or not? And again, kind of, it sort of, there's a little chicken and egg here with, well, is the water going to be there? You know, the water going to be here? Are we jacking across the highway? Or, you know, are we putting in a roundabout and then we bring in the water across when the roundabout goes in? You know, so there's a lot of moving parts that we're all trying to figure out.
Right, okay. I just want to make.
The idea isn't to leave the city hanging at any point.
No, I'm not, and I know that. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to figure out what's mutually beneficial. And that's, I think, the key here. How can we, and when do we need to do this yellow-blue line? That's, I think, the biggest, the upcharge or the upgrading or upsizing of the ones in the development, I think that's not the biggest issue. That's, you know, what is it, a couple $100,000? I mean.
300,000 to 600,000.
Yeah,
depending
so.
on negotiated, you know, connections.
And we'll negotiate that. No, anyhow. So, but the bigger issue is that $2+ million up trunk line. So, okay.
And I guess one other thing, you know, just, we are trying to look at all these pipelines kind of holistically that, you know, they're unit price projects. The more you do, there's some economy of scale.
Sure.
So we wanted to lay it all out, say these are the main ones we're recommending. Timing of it is obviously up to the city, but there's benefit sometimes of bidding larger projects when you know you need to execute this amount of work just to get the economy of scale. So I just wanted to make that note. On the north side, we have also recommended a 16-inch line down Highway 110. So that, again, was in the master plan originally, that we knew we would want this. It provides some additional looping in the community and water supply to that area. So in addition to the 16-inch down 110, we would extend the 12-inch just to the west there, kind of on 110 as well, west of Halstead, and then south on, I can get the numbers, sorry, Highland. So a 12-inch south on Highland as well. So the benefits of this northern pipeline improvements project, it supports that future tower.
Go back to the map.
That's different than this one.
Just zoomed out a bit, I think.
So, yeah, the one in the packet doesn't have the 8-inch extension. Looks like that was omitted from there, from Highland to 92.
Come again?
Like,
Oh, here, there, okay. All right, and these are all in the future. I mean, obviously, we can't do all of this now. And here's the thing we have to be careful of, okay? Because what happened years ago is the city had to run sewer, this, way back when, even before I was here, which is a long, long time ago. Anyhow, way back when they had to put sewer in. And so they put sewer in, and then some areas that didn't get sewer, they said, well, the sewer lines are here and you can eventually hook up, so we're going to assess you. Well, guess what? 30 years later, more than 40 years later, those areas still can't hook up to that sewer when they're not, and the areas aren't being developed. So I want to be very, very careful about extending all these water lines in hopes that in the future, these areas are going to develop, because we're going to be spending a lot of money now, and 40, 50 years from now, we're going to have to spend more money to redo them, So we need to be careful, and I understand about the looping issues, but there's only so much we can do right now.
One thing to look at too is not doing this right away, but at least have it on the book so that when developers are looking at these properties that we can say, yes, look, we do have a plan in place. This is what we're looking at, and, not so much getting it done right now, but at least have the plan in place to have it that we're ready to go. So that, say the property up here, Signet property, goes 2 years from now, we can say, look, we had this plan in place, this is what we're looking at, you know, and it's there. So I mean, it's not like an immediate need, but we should have, you know, something ready to go, formulated for a plan in place for all this stuff. So not just some maps, you know, lines on a map, but actually do it and have a plan in place to say, this is what this is going to be, this is where we're going to go with it, have some plans, you know, rough plans drawn up, but it's ready to go.
Yeah, there's definitely a balancing act of you, if you don't have accessible water in these areas and they do decide to develop, you may miss the opportunity to connect those homes as well. So, and we want to connect homes to the water system to help pay for the water system that we've invested in. So I think there's a balancing act of, I agree, we don't want to put pipeline there too early and then it sits for 25 years and we end up having to replace it before we even use it. But if we don't have it there, it makes it harder for anyone to actually connect to it. So, and to my earlier point as well, there is some benefit of economy of scale. And if we're going to invest in some pipeline work in the south, is there a benefit of bidding this portion with it as a bid alternate just to see what the cost is? And we can always not award it, or at least have a better understanding of that cost for future investment. Or if it does come in reasonable, we bid it. But that's really a city decision to decide, you know, how urgent you think water supply in that area would be. Again, benefits of that northern portion, it does support that future tower site to the north, up by, I think it was Lake Sullivan. It supports kind of looping to minimize single point of failure. So you do have a single 12-inch line that runs to the north, kind of along the lakes there, that if that would fail, it would cut off quite a bit portion of users. It provides city water to City Hall. I know we don't have city water in this location. And it, again, provides water to potential developments to the north and west of St. Boniface. Again, the number is quite large, but I'm just putting that out there. That's our early estimates based on what we could quickly pull together. And some minor kind of portions kind of connected to that northern pipeline segment. There's a Hallstead pipeline improvements that would go just to the east. That really just helps with some of the looping in that corner to minimize the risk to the homes to the north. That there's a single pipe that kind of runs up that road that if that does fail, we do lose quite a few homes.
And I will fight for this one. This one is a must because we ended up with a curb stop failure in Pinnacle Way. And the only way to fix it is to shut the water off the Pinnacle Way, which shuts everything off to north and south Saunders. And we do not want to open the interconnects up with Mount again because that was nothing but a mess. Oh, I will push for this one. That this is a must in the near future to get this done because, I mean, it's not a blot. It's not everybody. It is very beneficial for homeowners in north and south Saunders if something was to go wrong in the other development that they can continue to have water.
Again, here's kind of our rough estimate, just looking at it at this point.
311 for that section.
It's not in the millions like the other ones, so this one's a little bit easier to swallow, but that's our initial estimate.
Why is that different than the 187? that's
Yeah,
in the
I
packet?
was just gonna look at that. I goes, wait, that number isn't what we had in our packet. We had 187 in our packet.
I don't know.
Yeah, wasn't it 187?
It is 187 in the packet, so.
So,
this
I'm
is-
sorry, you're gonna have to build it for 187.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong here. What they're seeing here was this not developed by Jake last
That
year.
may have been old cost. So
Yeah,
we
this is
updated
old
these.
cost.
But I was
on
wondering
here.
why some of the 12 inch is $100 and some of the 12 inch is $175.
That may have been old information as we, again, dove back into this to
175%.
review of current bid estimates. This is now
Okay, well, we just,
not better, but
yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
Wait, are the
It's supposed to be
2.7 and the
175.
3 point, is that going to go up by 1.75% or?
It depends on what the.
I guess I-
No, because like
numbers I have
the,
in my PowerPoint are the current estimates.
Okay.
So I guess to that
go up
point,
that
so I-
much.
some of the 12 inch
Or
didn't get updated, that's why it's wrong. It's 100 instead of 175.
so, and this is just me providing kind of a brief cost estimate on everything. So we've got the water plant cost. I understand it's small. just total of some of the professional services for mostly the water plant work and then the other projects that we are tracking. And I added these pipeline projects to that blue chunk, just so we can see kind of total investment in water infrastructure recently. Again, the pipeline projects are very kind of time dependent. They're not urgent right now, but we do need to plan for them in the future.
So before you finish here, another question, and I kind of had the same one. Kathleen pointed out, go back to
Pinnacle Way.
Pinnacle Way one. Why stop it right there? Are you then saying the developer for, let's say, Halsted or any other parcels
Like, why
east
wouldn't
of
we
there
keep
would
the
then
12
have to bring that in?
Why would it replace part of the 10-inch and make it the 12-inch on 110 farther?
Or would that be the developer's cost?
So you're asking why, so we're.
This is
proposing-
just a looping connection.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right, but so where the 10-inch connects to Cardinal Cove Drive, why wouldn't we get rid of that 10-inch and make it just 12-inch farther to the next connection point, I guess? Why would we keep that pink line and not replace?
We
Oh,
can,
you could do that, yeah, you could go all the way to.
again, these
if
are
you want to.
early, just kind of cartoon ideas. We
Okay.
would absolutely talk about that further as we get into design.
okay, all right. Maybe that's why it's 311 versus 187.
Unfortunately not.
All right.
And then quickly timeline. So I guess, again, we're putting all these out here as kind of more of a transparent, holistic, like these things will need to happen eventually. It's up to the city to decide timing. The thought was if we wanted to proceed with these, you could design this year, bid next year, and then you'd have a couple of years to build it. You talked about, and we can come back with some more detailed recommendations as far as the need and the demand and how that might interact. But, if you spent 2 summers building these pipelines, the plant is intended to be done substantially complete by end of January of 2028 and final completion by end of June, 1st of July, 2028. So you'd be finishing up these pipelines kind of the same construction season.
And then so then, Paul, what's your timeline in terms of starting and needing? I mean, you would have water, right? You would, because you would tie into the existing 12-inch.
Yeah, depending on, again, that's the
Yeah.
initial phase.
Okay, so you're not under a timeline.
We're hoping to get in construction next summer.
Okay, so
And
27.
so exactly how that first phase looks, we don't know yet. And that's something, MI is obviously, they're 80% of the neighborhood, where Rachel's a small
Yeah.
portion. And so I think they're a little bit more driving the bus on exactly what the first phase will look like.
Okay.
And we're actually in the middle of discussing that right now and trying to figure it out.
Okay,
But
All
from
right.
that previous discussion, I guess this would be my suggestion and take it with however you do, but we're already adding 24 million in the next 2 years.
I know.
You could do these, I think to the mayor's point, you could easily do this in 29, 30 to, at some
Right.
point, there's a tipping point for our residents. There
But
just
that's-
is.
that's what
it's-
I know.
You guys are residents. So, I guess I don't know why we'd even talk about doing these in the next 2 years. You could design them maybe in 28 and do them in 29, 30, but let's at least get the 20-some million we've already committed to.
I know,
add it
that's
on first
my
before we-
concern.
Sure.
And who
Especially-
knows what the market is going to do? I'm assuming MI and Rachel knows a lot more in terms of what the market is doing. Hopefully you have a crystal ball, I'm assuming. But if these homes don't come online, then it's,
1,500, I think
yeah.
we're already good with, and I don't know how many
Right.
days we're pumping 1,500 gallons per minute. I think it's 1 or 2 or 3, and I don't know. Gary would know, but it's not all year. So
Right.
it's,
well, we'll have more discussions on this, but I'm really reluctant to spend another $3-4 million. If we absolutely need it, then we have to figure out how it's going to be done. But if we don't absolutely need it, maybe we look at the Cardinal Cove one or the County Road 110 one, like maybe that needs to be our first one, and maybe that's in 2029 or something after we have a little more funding in our bank account.
I'd be fine with the 200,000-300,000 one. That's fine, but this 3, 5, 8 million or whatever these other ones are, at some point, we got to be reasonable, I guess, or.
Breaking point.
Well, and if I may, so what we're trying to do is try to be proactive with some of these conversations, so we're not having them a year after we should have had them, right? So we're trying to get this in front of city council. The highest priority one for the whole system, and which was talked about in conjunction with the water treatment plant, is the South Highway 7. So,
According to Gary, it's the 110.
well, that's Gary's because he had a
Bad experience.
bad experience there, which that one should have been done a while ago. I mean, I think, but, so we want to try to be proactive with
Right.
this because we don't want to be the bottleneck and the limiting factor for, potential development or, miss a price point that, we have, I think, probably favorable bidding conditions for pipe work right now. Interest rates are okay. So we, I think in hindsight, everybody wishes they probably would have done a lot of this stuff back when interest rates were near zero and really, hungry contractors. But, so we want to make sure that we're talking about this stuff well in advance of when we actually need it.
Right.
Just so we're not, forced to do a project at a higher cost. It's favorable times right now. So what we're looking at is if there is an appetite, I'm not really, I'm unsure right now about what we want to do as a group. But if there is an appetite, we would look at doing something possibly at the next meeting to talk. If there's more questions, let me know if you have more questions. And I'm not sure if we should meet at the next meeting about this or not, or what are the thoughts?
To wait and find out if we get bonding money.
Will that change?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we get a couple million, that would offset some of the costs that we could put towards this.
I mean, that would be the only reason I would want to go forward with spending another $3 million on a pipe between now and 2028.
I think that's reasonable. And again, looking at the needs and everything, we're not under pressure to do this. So I think even if we waited till May to find out if we get bonding money, then we can do more of a deep dive.
Yep.
I mean,
And I know everybody's aware of this. It's just,
Yeah.
the numbers that we show today, those are gonna, every year we wait, it's gonna go up. So, it's
Right.
always gonna increase.
Right.
So just kind of keep that in mind
Once
too.
the bottom falls out, then everything's.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's been ebbs and flows.
I guess,
I mean, there's been like one.
Gain from that is not worth the damage in other areas.
but I do have a question. Paul, Evelyn's, thank you. Do you have questions?
Yeah, I think our only question would just be concern, I think we did talk at that meeting, there was concern about any issues with water pressure after a certain number of homes are built.
Well, there were some spiking things. I mean, like it's how we fit as a puzzle piece into the whole system. Whether it sounded like these trunk mains helped the entire system sort of operate in more of an equilibrium. And so that, I guess we just want to sort of work through a little bit more and make sure that we're all on the same page.
Because by the time you get homes online, I mean, we're probably talking 28, 29. I mean, you're going to get some, right? But if you get, let's say, 40 more homes or in 28, and then another 40, whatever it is, I think we have enough time to figure out that trunk line and the cost and all of that, even if we wait until May to find out if we get any bonding money. So, yeah, maybe that's the route we should go. Figure out, maybe find out if we get bonding money, and then if it's May or maybe it's first meeting in June, we come back with some more details and answered questions.
And we'll explore the timing
Yeah.
criticality a little bit further to make
Okay.
sure we're not being overly optimistic.
And maybe by that time, you might have your more information too. So, I mean, we're not trying to hold you up. So,
We're still working through with Minna,
Yeah.
and, there's a lot of.
and I know there's a sewer issue too that we're going to have to discuss at some point, so. Okay, a lot of fun
Not really an
things.
issue. It's solved with.
Money, it's solved with money.
So the pipe on 7, and then they're going to tear up 7 and do whatever. Where is our pipe in relation to when they fix Highway 7 and, make it not a pothole-filled road?
Right now, they're not going to tear it up. It's just a mill and overlay. Yeah, and we're hoping that they'll add some roundabouts. That's to be determined. So,
Won't be any issue with the piping.
well, they would do directional drilling, wouldn't they, for the most part?
Are you talking about the south line?
Yeah,
My suggestion would be to stay out of the MinDOT right away, and we get an easement agreement with the Three Rivers Carver Park District there and run it down their property line on their side, so we're out of MinDOT's right away completely. That would be my suggestion.
we've
Yeah.
talked directional drill
Okay,
just to avoid as much surface disturbance as possible because we're in Three Rivers. So.
okay.
And we don't anticipate there'd be an issue with getting an easement from the park district?
Well,
That was a good luck.
It all depends on their, on their mood. I mean, I don't think it would be that big of a, deal to get one from them there because it's close enough to the MinDOT easement and they're never going to develop that anyways. Nothing will be done there. So we're going to be 8 feet under the ground. I mean, I don't see an issue with getting something from them.
and they'll do directional boring, so,
It'll all be directional board,
yeah.
yes.
So the trees above will be fine. I think that's what,
It's like swampland that runs around Highway 7 there. It's all,
There's
When the
a
plant
lot
there,
of- there's a lot
there'd
of
be room to
trees.
put it in.
yeah. It's
All right.
Yucky land.
All right, I think we're good. So we'll take a quick, I think for now, we're good. Thank you. And we'll see you in June for sure for the groundbreaking, which has already been broken, but. All right, with that, that concludes all the items on our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn the work session?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Brian. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes, and we come back for a regular meeting, 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, so if this is right, it looks like, based on current capacity, obviously without